On behalf of the Board of Trustees of Central European University, and as Provost and Academic Prorector of the University, it is my privilege to convene the opening ceremony of Central European University's 20th academic year. In addition to our students, faculty, and staff, we are honored by the presence of many distinguished guests here today. We are especially pleased to welcome ambassadors from many of our students' home countries, as well as other members of the diplomatic corps and officials of the Hungarian government. We extend a special welcome to János Martonyi, Foreign Minister of the Republic of Hungary, who will deliver the opening address this afternoon, and to representatives of Hungarian universities. Today, as I noted, we are proud to celebrate the beginning of our university's 20th academic year. These past 2 decades have been a time of excitement and change, marked by significant institutional growth, community engagement, and outstanding academic success. We look forward to even greater achievements in the next 2 decades, and we are confident that everyone at the university will play a crucial part in this unfolding process. No tribute to the exceptional history and success of CEU could be complete without mentioning its founder, George Soros, whose far-reaching vision and continuing support have been critical in forming this unique university. I would like to formally recognize and thank the faculty of Central European and staff of Central European University who share the responsibility for the extraordinary accomplishments that CEU has achieved over these past 19 years. Their hard work, dedication, and commitment to the mission of CEU have contributed immeasurably to the university's success. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for having to hold the microphone in my hand. The university could not have made such steady progress with the tremendous contributions of both its master's and PhD students. These enthusiastic and very capable students work both independently and through student groups, as well as through the CEU Alumni Association, to advance CEU's capacity and status worldwide. Perhaps most importantly, however, the exceptional quality of the students' work, the significance of their professional achievements, and the noteworthy contributions that they make to the world community reflect the academic and life experience that they have during their studies at CEU. We honor past and continuing students and welcome incoming students today. We are certain that their work has and will continue to have a very positive impact on societies everywhere. Your Excellencies, honored guests, esteemed colleagues, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, our ceremony will begin with presentations by several of our students. 2 continuing students will make the first remarks, and they will be followed by an incoming student. First, 2 of our continuing students will reflect briefly on their experiences at CEU. Please welcome Jan Bröker from Germany, our second-year master's student from the Department of History, and Dinara Asambayeva from Kyrgyzstan, our doctoral student at the Department of Legal Studies. Please join me in welcoming Jan and Dinara.
Distinguished guests, President and Rector, CEU faculty, and fellow students. If you asked me, how does it feel to be a part of CEU? I could not give you a simple or direct answer. And the more people you ask, the more different answers you would probably get. Today, Dinara and I have the honor to tell you something about CEU from our perspectives. And I might tell you in advance that you will hear 2 seemingly differing approaches. As a student of the comparative history track, I will try to compare and tell you what CEU is like. Well, the answer is, CEU is like a journey. And with that, I mean not moving to Budapest. Since I got to know my now wife exactly 9 years ago in this very city, moving from Germany to Budapest was more like coming home than going abroad. Well then, what kind of journey do I mean? We will skip all the preparations like planning and booking that are usually necessary. Since you're already here, that means that you just, like me about a year ago, have already taken your first steps at CEU. you fulfilled the necessary entry requirements, passed the challenging and highly competitive application procedure, got your security and IT drill, and by now you better know where the emergency exits are. In other words, you've checked in and boarded the CEU airplane. The phase you might be experiencing right here, right now, is takeoff. Be prepared. Takeoff is rapid and intense. You will meet so many new people, hear so many new voices, and get to know so many new perspectives that in the beginning it all might seem to blur in front of you. But after a short while, the dizziness will fade. You can unfasten your seatbelts, stand up, and take a look around. First, you will realize with what kind of amazing people you share this journey. Everybody bringing his or her own experiences with them, that all taken together form a tremendous treasure rich in creativity, ideas, and perspectives. As one result, you will be continuously confronted with your own perception of reality, questioning and re-evaluating your perspective. As another result, you might end up writing very different kind of speeches. Second, if you take a look out of the window, you will come to see the world from a different angle. And no matter where your journey might lead you to, you will always take this view with you, at least as a memento, but hopefully as a guiding principle. Third, you will begin to realize what kind of a unique airplane you have boarded. Distinguished faculty, friendly personnel, and exceptional guest speakers, plus great food. In a nutshell, you've embarked on an exciting journey that will change your perspective. But don't be afraid, you're not making this journey alone. In this spirit, I ask you to unfasten your seatbelts and to open your eyes and ears. And I wish to all of you who have yet just started your journey, as well as to those who are continuing theirs, bon voyage.
Students, faculty, and guests, members of the CEU community, I come here to share my experience and life at the Central European University. I come from Kyrgyzstan, a small country which is located right in the heart of Central Asia. In 2005, Kyrgyzstan was in the headlines of world media as the first, and so far the only, country where a peaceful revolution took place. It was a year of hope for democratic transformation. It was a year of high expectations. Yet, despite all expectations, the new government turned out to be even more corrupt and authoritarian than the previous one. Last spring, Kyrgyzstan was under the media spotlight once again. Another revolution, another unconstitutional change of power. This summer, massive ethnic clashes in the south of the country made the possibility of peaceful future questionable. The country, which is home for more than 80 ethnic groups, faced massive killings, rapes, burning of houses, and created the atmosphere of hatred and distrust was created in the society. These violent events, they undermined what was already a fragile peace and ethnic balance. This is a sad and discouraging story of how diversity in a closed society can be manipulated and used in political games, even at the cost of innocent lives. Authoritarian regimes, corruption, and passivity of citizens undermined the true meaning of democracy, rule of law, and open society, turning them just into the cliches. With this background, I'm really encouraged to see an institution like the Central European University, which provides an open forum for young people from all over the world. We might be of different nationalities, backgrounds, opinions, ways of thinking, and attitudes to life, but all of us have one thing in common. We came here to learn, to grow, and to question. Thus, my advice to new members of the CEU community is enrich your experience and learn from each other as much as you can. Learn from your classmates, learn from your professors. Dare to inquire and express your ideas, and never forget to stand up for your values, and always, always respect the values of others. Develop those principles that would guide you throughout your life, so that in your countries, democracy, rule of law, and open society would be more than just cliches. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan and Dinara. Our next speaker is an incoming student, Andor Kelenhegyi from Hungary, who is a first-year master's student in the Department of Medieval Studies.
CEU faculty, distinguished guests, fellow students. Like many of you, I'm beginning my studies at the Central European University next Monday. And though I have spent the greater part of my last 3 weeks here in these buildings, I hardly know more than 50 students yet, perhaps fewer. So when I was asked to give a speech on behalf of all the incoming students, I decided to talk about 2 things that apply to all of us. We come from different backgrounds. We have different goals in our lives. We come from different countries. We speak different languages. But after all, we have 2 things in common. This year, we share the same expectations and the same ambitions. By expectations, I mean our mutual faith and hope that the Central European University will provide us with all the help, the encouragement, and the knowledge that is necessary for being successful here in our studies, and later on in our jobs, further studies, academic career, that is to say, in our future. By ambitions, I mean our mutual commitment to work as hard as possible, to do our best, to take all the efforts in order to comply with the requirements here. Because if we do so, we have a wonderful opportunity. We have a chance to learn from the most renowned scholars. I think we have a chance to participate in something that will keep us company for years. And finally, I am sure we have an opportunity, which is also an obligation, to get to know each other, to learn as much as possible about each other's culture, and to understand more about each other's culture and to know as much people from all around the world as possible. What I want to say is that I'm very grateful to be here, to be one of you as students with these opportunities, with the opportunity to build the foundations of a future here this year. Thank you.
Following tradition, a member of the faculty also welcomes students at the opening ceremony. Please welcome Professor Diane Stone, Marie Curie Chair from the Department of Public Policy.
On behalf of the faculty, I would like to welcome everybody here, distinguished guests, faculty, students, and of course our rector, John Shattuck, to the new academic year. I have been asked to speak briefly about a new and very important initiative in the university, and this is the plan to develop a School of Public Policy which will be launched next year. This initiative, I said it is new. It has actually been in planning for nearly 18 months now and builds on the united efforts of the Department of Political Science, the Department of International Relations and European Studies, as well as the Department of Public Policy. It will, however, engage with other departments of the university, as well as students and visiting faculty who may come from time to time. Much has already been done. The foundations have been laid, and we are now in the process of searching for a foundation dean to launch the school next year. You will hear a lot about this development during the academic year while you are here. So let me talk very briefly about 3 ways in which policy, since policy making is one of the orientations, obviously, of a School of Public Policy. And I should say at this point, while it is called the School of Public Policy at the moment, it may well have another label by next September. And that is because one of the foci of the school is to address not just governmental issues within countries, but to look at the kinds of policy problems and concern that move across borders, to look at transnational policy issues and concerns, and to deal with matters of global governance and regional affairs. So this will be one of the distinctive features of the school that will give it a distinctiveness and comparative advantage in relation to many other schools of public policy around the world that tend to focus just on one nation state or neighboring countries. But let me turn to the idea of policy and what policy might mean and how the school can broach the different meanings of policy and policy making. And about 20 years ago, there was a book that came out that asked the question, policy, is it an art, is it a science, or is it a craft? So let me go through each of those in turn. If policy analysis is a science, then one of the roles for the school is theory development and conceptual innovation. We need theories so that we can comprehend the nature of policy problems today, to interpret them and to understand them. And we need new ideas about the policy processes of global and regional governance that are now emerging. And as a science, we need to address this by creating new scholars through doctoral training in the school, as well as by building analytic talent and research excellence among faculty. Secondly, the idea of policy as a craft. If policy is a craft, then policy education involves a much more pragmatic and practical function for the school. Policy education is about learning the use of policy tools and different methods of implementation and building know-how for students who will subsequently go into careers in government or in non-governmental organizations. It also means bringing into the school faculty and visiting professors who have practical experience and policy-making expertise. So when thinking about policy making as a craft and also as a career for future government and civil society leaders, then the role of the school is to provide them with knowledge about what works and how to do it. Thirdly, if we think of policy as an art, then it is an art of judgment and wisdom, where the school is also informed by an ethical stance. Now this connects directly to the mission of the school and CEU, and most importantly also to our sister institution, the Open Society Institute. And one of the ambitions of the School of Public Policy is to develop a closer relationship with the Open Society Institute to look for opportunities for engagement and to bring in the skills and knowledge and expertise that parts of the OSI have that can be relevant for the education and training of people who come to CEU. So in this notion of policy, policy is based on values and principles of what is best or desirable for our society. So the school is not only about building practical policy schools or developing new theories and concepts, it also has a vision to help bring about just and legitimate governance. Governance at local levels, but governance also at global levels. We hope that you will join in this exciting new venture, and you will hear much about this enterprise over the forthcoming year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane. It is now my pleasure to continue our program with opening remarks by the President and Rector of Central European University, John Shattuck. Please join me welcoming Professor Shattuck.
Thank you very much, Kati. Thank you, Diane, for those very interesting and inspiring remarks. I'm particularly pleased that our distinguished provost is a Hungarian who has received her degree at ELTA, PhD, so I think that's an important symbol of today's events, which are in many ways to celebrate the Hungarian university as well as the international American and European university that we are. I also want to thank our students for your very wonderful welcoming remarks to your fellow students. I think you have made us all proud, as you will continue to do throughout your career at CEU. We are celebrating here our opening day in our 20th year in a construction site. You may wonder, why have we assembled you in a construction site? But it's here in this hole in the wall that our next 20 years will begin to take shape. And it's a very exciting moment for us to contemplate as we think ahead. In many ways, you are our construction engineers. Our faculty and our students make this an exciting laboratory, as I know you will all agree, those of you who are new and those of you who are here already know this, a laboratory for international education. And our time together, I'm pleased to say, over the next several years will be marked by the expansion and redevelopment of our entire campus. So this is an exciting moment of physical change as well as intellectual development. I want to offer some brief advice to our new students. When I arrived here a year ago as the new rector of CEU, CEU seemed like a giant labyrinth. And after my initial confusion about finding my way around, I decided to cancel all my appointments and to leave my office and go out into the university and get intentionally lost. Now, that was a brilliant thing to do, largely because it's so easy to get lost. So that was something that I could accomplish almost immediately. And after I'd been up and down all the staircases and all the corridors several times and met lots of people, I began to feel right at home. Now, I'm sure many of you who are new students have already done that. So my advice to you is to continue, every day you're here, to explore all that CEU has to offer. One of the distinctive features of this university is the great tapestry of the world that you represent. Let me tell you a little bit about yourselves. This year, CEU received 5,359 applications from students in 134 countries, about 30% more than ever, more than the previous year and more than all the other years of CEU, and from 15 new countries. And out of that worldwide pool of applicants, 597 of you, 11% of those who applied, are now starting out as new students. So, please join me in congratulating CEU for admitting you, and each and every one of you for deciding to come. Now, you come from 100 countries on all continents with no single dominant nationality. And every year we have new students from nations that were not previously represented at CEU, and I'm pleased to say this year is no exception. The newest country in our global community is the one that is furthest away. Probably none of you can quite think of what that might be. It's the country of the Maldives in the Pacific. So I welcome all our new students and especially our new colleague from the Maldives. Now, on this opening day of our 20th year, it seems appropriate briefly for me as rector to reflect on our mission as a university. CEU was conceived at the time of the great transition in Central and Eastern Europe. It was conceived by the interaction of a powerful idea and a remarkable promise. The idea was that a multinational university could be a place to study the principles of open society. The promise was that professors and students could be recruited to build a new and unique institution. Now, 20 years ago, these principles may have seemed at the time uncontested. but today they are being challenged. The global economic crisis, an erosion of democracy and human rights, a resurgence of ethnic and religious discrimination and conflict, a struggle over resources and the environment, the rise of a new authoritarianism, and the siren call of nationalism. These are the kinds of challenges the world faces today. But even as these challenges have grown, CEU has flourished. We have recruited outstanding students from across the world. We have a widely respected international faculty immersed in the study of society. We are a center of excellence and teaching and research. The generosity of our founder has allowed us to plan for growth at a time when other universities are cutting back. CEU is committed to providing scholarships for our students and funding for more outstanding faculty. And above all, we have a mission, and the mission is to teach and research what makes an open society. CEU has 5 major assets that prepare us for this mission. First, we have deep regional roots, particularly here in Hungary, and an increasingly global perspective. We are a crossroads university, connected with the history and culture of Central and Eastern Europe, and open as few other universities are to the history and culture of the world, which is represented, of course, by all of you. Second, we are committed to linking theory and practice. Our public policy and business schools are at the heart of this linkage, and so are many areas of social science where there's much to be learned from case studies, field work, and interaction with the world. Third, we teach and research across academic disciplines. As a young university, CEU is well positioned to be a leader in interdisciplinary studies. Fourth, we are agile. We take intellectual risks. We are entrepreneurial in developing new academic programs. You've already heard about one from Professor Stone at the new Public Policy School, but other programs like cognitive science, network science, and Ottoman studies, all developed in very recent years. Finally, we are a university founded on a set of values: commitment to the pursuit of truth, an honest relationship with history, openness to new ideas, respect for the autonomy of individuals and groups, dedication to the rule of law, and determination to resolve differences through debate, not denial. So how then should CEU respond to the challenges of our time? Above all, we should strengthen our commitment to critical thinking. We live in an age, as we all know, of instantaneous communication and information overload. Next week, right here in this tent, CEU will join with Google in hosting an international conference on the state of the internet and freedom of expression. Facts on the internet are often less clear than opinions. Analysis less understood than advocacy. Truth less apparent than prejudice. As CEU students, you will learn to think for yourselves, to sift, analyze, and weigh the information with which you are bombarded every day. You will learn to guard against attractive falsehoods, to resist easy conclusions, and above all, to exercise your own informed judgment. And as you learn to navigate the world of information, you will also learn about the great contest going on all around us over the principles and meaning of open society. In a rapidly changing world, there are many competing models of how political and economic life should be organized, some of which are sensible and some of which are dangerous. An authoritarian model of government challenges the assumption that democracy and human rights are necessary for a society to flourish. A laissez-faire model of financial markets that prevailed in the United States and Europe until recently was a major cause of the global economic crisis. Another economic model of development emphasizes the sustainability of resources and challenges the assumption that unlimited economic growth is a good thing. So as a global university, CEU can educate future leaders like you about these global contests. This will require an increasingly global curriculum, academic expertise across regions, and teaching and research that emphasize the diverse ethnic, racial, religious, cultural, historical, and philosophical dimensions of the world that we live in. Let me give you one example of the kind of open society leader that CEU produces. Jagoda Gragielska from Poland graduated from CEU in 2009 with an MA in Nationalism Studies. Last year, she helped found and now directs a project in Srebrenica, the town in Bosnia where the largest single genocide in Europe since the Second World War was committed in 1995. The aim of Jagoda's project is to empower young Serbs and Bosniaks who have grown up in the shadow of genocide to overcome ethnic and religious division. What Jagoda is doing is at the heart of what CEU stands for as a university, and a credit to the education that she received in our Nationalism Studies program. I have a strong personal connection to the Srebrenica project. In August 1995, I was serving as the US Assistant Secretary of State for Human Rights when I became the first international official to meet with survivors of the genocide, and later the first official to reach the killing site in Srebrenica. Later this fall, with Justice Richard Goldstone, who's here today as a new member of CEU's faculty, and I welcome you, Richard, I will head a CEU delegation to Srebrenica, where we will meet with the young people of Jagoda's project who, under her leadership, are working to change the world around them from a closed society to a more open one. Now, CEU is a hybrid university. We are recognized by 3 different authorities: in the United States, the European Union, and Hungary. We are proud, as I said at the outset, of our Hungarian identity. 20% of our students and 35% of our faculty come from Hungary. And of course, Hungarian traditions of academic excellence run deep, with many Nobel laureates having Hungarian roots. Next year, Hungary will take the world stage when it assumes the presidency of the European Union. The person who is shaping Hungary's approach to this momentous responsibility is none other than our keynote speaker this afternoon, whom I welcome, His Excellency János Martonyi, the Foreign Minister of Hungary, and about whom I want to tell you a little bit. János, thank you for being here. János Martonyi has had a distinguished career in government, law, and academia. He has been a professor at ELTE University and the University of Szeged, and I'm proud to say that he has also been a visiting professor at CEU. Dr. Martonyi's predecessor as foreign minister is also a CEU professor, and today we welcome Professor Peter Balázs back to the ranks of our faculty. I've been privileged to know Foreign Minister Martonyi since his first term in office when I was the US ambassador to the Czech Republic. We first met in 1998 in a rather unusual circumstance when we were flying together to Independence, Missouri. You may ask, why would we be flying to Independence, Missouri? And the answer is that we were both going to celebrate the accession of Hungary and the Czech Republic as new members of NATO. I have enormous admiration for János Martonyi's leadership in world affairs, and I'm honored to be able to call him a friend. And it's now my distinct privilege and pleasure to welcome to the podium our keynote speaker, His Excellency, the Foreign Minister of Hungary, János Martonyi.
President, Rector, professors, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, John, thank you very much for your very kind introduction. And my CV brought my attention to a short story which happened to me a couple of months ago. And to put it very short, we had, there is still one by the way, a kind of club, a group of former foreign ministers. It's an informal group which is headed and organized by the former Foreign Secretary of the United States, Madeleine Albright. And we had, of course, regular meetings discussing global problems, local problems, and so on. But there is, of course, an iron rule of this group, of this club, that whoever gets back a ministerial job or post loses immediately and automatically his membership in the group. So, what happened a couple of months ago, I got a very kind letter from Madeleine Albright, and of course, she congratulated me for my appointment. And then, of course, she added that, as you know, under our rules, now you automatically cease to be a member of our group. And then P.S., one thing is certain, you will come back. So, in the American Journal of Science, there was a phrase a couple of years probably ago, which said that the 20th century has been made in Budapest. John, you also made a reference to the Nobel laureates of this city and of this country. And of course, we often quote this sentence. We all know very well that whether this is true or not, in any case, the 21st century will not be made in Budapest. Let's be realistic. And this is not even our objective or aspiration, but we still have our own objectives and aspirations, and this is, we would like to contribute to what will happen and how 21st century will be shaped. And I think that's a more realistic and reasonable objective or aspiration. For instance, we would like to make this country and also Budapest an intellectual, a cultural, an academic hub of this region, maybe also of Europe, maybe in some sense of the world. And that is why we are proud of your institution here. And that's, we want you to stay here, to develop, to attract more and more high quality professors, which is already the case, I know, and more high quality students. And this is, of course, very much in our interest as well. So we don't want to regain the glory of the 20th century, but we definitely would like to be a humble player in the game, and we would really like to contribute, especially to the values which we all believe in and which were amply and very appropriately referred to by the previous speaker. Now, as I'm still the foreign minister for the time being, as I said, you probably expect me to speak at least one or two words about the world. Now, the world is getting clearly a more and more uncertain and insecure place. We all know the reasons. I don't want to elaborate on them. 2 or 3 factors, perhaps very briefly. There is a tectonic shift of economic and political power, which is not correctly represented, for instance, in the international organizations, such as Security Council or IMF, and so on. Also, there is a widening gap, and that has also been referred to, between the global nature of the economy, of the challenges, of the risks, and the fragmented nature of the political structure, as we all know. And of course, we should try to cover this gap by establishing more and more global governance and global rules, but this is not as easy as we know, despite some successes which have been achieved recently, thanks, by the way, among other things, to the crisis. And also there is a growing speed of processes and developments, and that also results in an unpredictability. It's a kind of famous papillon or butterfly effect. In fact, it's very difficult to foresee and predict events or developments, even if we try to. Economists, of course, I love them, but they very much like to predict what will be precisely the output of this and that country in 2050, maybe, but you can never be sure. Just a hidden advice to all of you who will learn how the world will look like in 2020, 25, 30, 40, or 50. But how can we fend off or at least mitigate these external uncertainties? I think the answer is very simple. We have to be more certain about our own region, about our neighborhood. Simply put, we have to have good neighbors and a safe and a secure neighborhood. The best example is that, for instance, when there is a flood in your village or where there is an avalanche coming, then you cannot make a distinction between so-called good neighbors and bad neighbors. You only have neighbors who have to rely upon to help you. So you need a world where solidarity prevails over selfish, egoistic interests. And that is also on the international arena. We all need good neighbors, in a wider sense, of course, and we need security and safety in our region. Now, that's also reflected by the name of this university, and that's why, among other things, we like to have this Central European University here in the middle of Central Europe, if I can put it that way, because we do believe that the region comes first. Of course, we are very much involved in the global issues, in the global challenges. We have to widen our vistas also in this sense, but we also have to be aware of the fact that that regional policy is of paramount importance. And that brings us, of course, to Central Europe. I don't want to speak too much about that. This is one of my favorite subjects anyway, but we cannot even give a definition to it because it's not a geographic concept also, but not only. Central Europe is culture, it is history, it is a heritage, it is diversity. Sometimes we say that this is in fact Europe, but with a higher revolution speed, because we have a smaller territory, we have even more diverse linguistic, cultural, religious heritage. But all in all, two things emerge very clearly, and even the world recognizes it more and more. One is that we have common interests, and also we have an increasing regional awareness. This increasing regional awareness even irritates sometimes people, which is the best demonstration that we are now becoming relevant. You know, in the last 20 years, I had to confront two types of criticism with respect to the region. One was that we do not cooperate sufficiently. We have too many problems between ourselves, you know, usual story. Now the second one, which is even more interesting, is that we cooperate too much. So you have to be careful how closely we cooperate. But one thing I would like to underline here, this growing regional awareness is not against Europe. It is in the European framework, because we have the same European vision in this part of Europe. Our vision is very much the same, and this is to deepen and to strengthen European construction. Of course, we also have some basic values behind. We have a vision, and that brings us, of course, to the Hungarian presidency, which has also been mentioned. No doubt a key challenge for the upcoming months. And we, of course, talk a lot about our strategic approach and our priorities, which are basically European priorities. In a simple formula, we only say that the Hungarian priority is Europe first. But behind those priorities, of course, we also have a vision, and that is that we also try to focus upon some basic principles. You cannot speak about growth and jobs and competitiveness in Europe without taking into account the very serious demographic situation of this continent. And for that, you need to have a policy which is based upon fundamental values like family and like an economic growth which is based upon a new type of economic policies. Also, we need to have much more solidarity. And that's not just my example about the neighbors helping you when the flood is coming, but also in normal times, we have to understand that those policies which are based upon solidarity, that's the cornerstone, one of the cornerstone principles of the whole European construction, will have to be implemented in a much stronger way. Another one is equal treatment. Of course, equal treatment is something which is always recognized but not always implemented. And, you know, I could give you a long range of examples, but this is not perhaps the time and place to do that. In any case, I do believe that for the European construction, the upcoming year will be crucial. For Central Europe, it will be crucial. This is the so-called Central European Year, 2011. The first half, it will be Hungary, having the rotating presidency. In the second half, it will be Poland. So that will be the first Central European year in the history of European integration. And this gives us the opportunity to try to push for the priorities which I already mentioned as a background, but in concrete policy terms, we definitely need to strengthen cohesion policy based upon solidarity. We have to maintain and strengthen some traditional policies like common agricultural policy, and also we need to make some considerable steps in the direction of establishing a genuine energy community, which is a common energy policy for Europe. It was rightly said by the President of the Commission a couple of days ago that we have to make frontiers irrelevant for pipelines and the power cables. I fully agree. But that brought to my mind that we probably have to make much more, going beyond energy. We also have to make frontiers irrelevant, not only for power cables and pipelines, but also for our mindset, for our prejudices, for our animosities, for our tensions, and for all the factors which are still there, and which, of course, should be somehow eliminated progressively, but how? Now, the main means for that is, I fully agree, is education. Education on the lowest level, middle level, high level, postgraduate level, and that is why, again, I would like to underline that we are happy that this university is here. Now, my last word in this context, perhaps, about our priorities for the rotating presidency next year. We put on our agenda social inclusion, fight against child poverty, and of course, and that's what we have been talking about for years, the Roma issue. We definitely need an all-European strategy for this very, very delicate, very complex social, economic, cultural challenge. One more thing, which is also related to all these, we also would like to put on our agenda what we call the cultural and linguistic diversity. We do believe in diversity, especially in Europe, globally as well. We are absolutely convinced that if Europe still has some competitive edge, this is its diversity, diversity of languages, of religious beliefs, of culture, of heritage. And that's why we have to look after this diversity, and we have to maintain what is the basis for diversity, and this is identity. These are not conflicting concepts. There is no diversity without identity. And identities need not compete with each other in a bad sense. They are not rivals, they are complementaries. And they result in a diversity which should be at least our strength for the future. And this is what we see here. It is not just a hub, this university, it is a meeting point not only for students, for people and professors. It is also a meeting point for traditions, heritage, culture, languages, mindsets, approaches to the basic problems. So all that, I think, brings together here a very good team, a very good group. I congratulate to you, and I wish you a very, very successful academic year.
Thank you, Minister Martonyi, for your very valuable and insightful opening address. And now we will continue our ceremony with music performed by the Academy Brass Quintet, who will play the well-known popular song Tico Tico. Please join me in welcoming them. We are approaching the end of our ceremony. I'd just like to make a few remarks at the end. Like every year at CEU, I look forward to the beginning of the term with great expectations. In my department, the Department of Philosophy, we have had our 0 week this week, and I had my first presentation introducing my classes. It was great to see both the familiar and the new faces in the classroom. This term, I am teaching a new course, and I'm very excited by the new areas that we will explore. A number of topics in this course are inspired by the work that I have done with my students in the last few years, and I know that they will continue to broaden my horizon, to help me to deepen my understanding and share the pleasure of pushing further the boundaries of knowledge. And I hope that you all have the same experience this year. On behalf of the university's governance and the faculty, I wish you all a very enjoyable and very successful academic year.